are they the team to beat? Nah, I can't say that. Because if we're going to say regular season matters, if we're going to say that defense matters, if we're going to say that all of these things have to be taken into account, Detroit has its own MVP candidate. Now, I have my doubts about whether Detroit can go through not winning a playoff series to get to the NBA Finals. But they are the team in the East with the best home record, the best road record, the best defense, and an MVP. That is a formula despite the shooting. The shooting is horrific right now. It ain't great, but I still think Detroit is a team to beat. Somebody's going to have to beat them.
Wendy?
Look, I can sit here for the next half hour, guys, and go over why I think the Pistons can win or the Pistons can lose. The Celtics, the Cavs, the Knicks. I can create a case for them, all of them, winning and losing because they all are flawed teams. And it's a very tightly packed East. I understand Detroit's been number one for the entire season, but they have their flaws, okay? Let's be honest. Only one of these teams can materially improve with the addition of a player, and that's the Celtics. And of course, I don't know what Jayson Tatum will look like when he comes back. I don't know what he looks like in game one of him coming back. I don't know what he looks like in May, okay? But the upside that the Celtics have because of the Tatum factor is the story in the Eastern Conference. That's the way it is. If he comes back and is even close to the All-NBA player that he has been for years, it is an absolute game-changing moment. Of course there will be some chemistry issues when he first tries to come back. Of course I don't expect him to be great. But you cannot look at this and look at the situation and not say that the Tatum potential re-entry changes the entire dynamic for Boston.
I say?
Here's my thing. By the way, major props. I heard you talking earlier on Get Up, Wendy, about this kid, Kata, 7-footer, 26 years old. Brother had a great performance yesterday, 27 and 17. Got to give him love. You got a big man that can go out there and produce for you. They seem really, really high on him. The combination of him and a guy like Vucevic who can hit perimeter shots and pull bigs away from the basket certainly feeds into what Boston is doing. The answer to this question is that they are obviously a team that's a huge threat in the Eastern Conference. I wouldn't say they are the team to beat because I still think that's the Detroit Pistons. But in the same breath, I can't summarily dismiss what we're seeing from them, particularly with Jaylen Brown having elevated his game. Jayson Tatum is the wild card because even though he makes the team better, the reality is the last time we saw them, they were on the verge of losing to the New York Knicks. They were going down 3-1. Jayson Tatum got hurt in the last 2-3 minutes of the game in Game 4. They were going down 3-1 to the New York Knicks, going back to Boston in that Eastern Conference semifinal series. Let's keep it a buck in that regard. So they were about to go home in all likelihood. And so we can't look at them and just say Jayson Tatum coming back, all of a sudden he changes everything. But in the same breath, because of the elevation of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum being the class individual that he is, along with an all-world talent, could they make some noise? None of us can rule it out.
Minnesota can play at both ends. And I'll sound like a broken record here on this one. When you try to evaluate a team that's going to make a run in the playoffs, you evaluate teams that can play at both ends. The Wolves can do it. For all of the flack that Rudy Gobert takes, and some of it is deserved, when he is on the court, they are a very good defensive team. He gets dunked on. He does stuff like commits flagrant fouls that gets him suspended. He says stuff that upsets guys. But when he's on the court, the data just shows they're a good defensive team. And they have Ant Edwards, who is a transformational offensive player who also himself plays at both ends of the court. I would not say I would choose them or pick them to beat Oklahoma City. I would not pick them to beat San Antonio, but boy, are they a dangerous team. And while these other teams have been struggling and falling back, Minnesota has risen. Minnesota 11-4 in their last 15, and they're going to keep rising because they play at both ends.
And they're fun to watch, too. Go ahead, Vince.
I think it's one of these undertold stories that we don't talk about as much. Anthony Edwards being one of the great player development stories in the NBA because he started off so high. Like, his game has improved year after year, and we don't give him the credit for recognizing what it takes to become a champion, being a better shooter, being a better ball handler, all those other things. But as far as a unit, I look at the Denver Nuggets, and I got this stat for you. Their top five, their starting five of Gordon and Murray and Jokic and Cam Johnson and Christian Brown, they played 10 games together this year. Less than 150 minutes. We know they have championship DNA. We just haven't seen it. and they're sitting fourth, and Jokic, since coming back, has not looked like himself. I'm going to assume he's going to look like the best player in basketball. The final stat I want to give you, because this is so critical to me, this is a shooting league. This is a league where three-point shooting matters. It's the great equalizer of everything. The Nuggets have 7 rotation players shooting 40% or better. The only guy who doesn't is Christian Braun. Tim Hardaway Jr. comes off the bench and shoots 7 for 43% a night. If they can get healthy, if Aaron Gordon can get that hamstring right, if Peyton Watson can get right, this team is going to be more than dangerous. They're going to be in the Western Conference Finals, but they have to get healthy.
Yeah, they were 6 of 22 from 3 last night, so that was not good. Go ahead, Stephen A. What do you think about the Wolves?
They got to get healthy. The bottom line is this is a simple answer to this question. Denver, fully healthy, deserves the advantage over the Minnesota Timberwolves, because if there is a kryptonite to Rudy Gobert's defensive prowess, it is when he goes up against Nikola Jokic, a healthy Nikola Jokic. When we've seen this man abused, usually it's against Jokic, all right? And we all know that. Jamal Murray, I mean, how many people do we have more faith in the clutch in terms of needing a bucket and relying on somebody other than Jokic to get you that bucket? It's Jamal Murray. And so Aaron Gordon, he comes back healthy. Watson comes back healthy. With what they have, you go with Denver. But that's the only time you go with Denver. If they have any debilitated element to them, Minnesota takes them. Because they got this dude, Ant-Man, who is a generational talent, my favorite player in the NBA. The brother is spectacular.
And Edwards, when you're in a 50-50 game, and Edwards can carry you home. We just saw it the other night in LA where he hits the shot to win the game, and then he chews out his head coach 5 seconds later. And the thing I love about this, by the way, is that both of them had a point, and both of them know that they can help each other and they move on from it. But we saw one of the wins over Oklahoma City was Ant hitting a ridiculous shot against good Oklahoma City defense. So basically is this. If you're Minnesota, what you want, get us into the last minute of 2 or 3 games against Oklahoma City or Denver, and we like our chances. There's going to be a lot that's going to have to happen to get to there, but if you get there, they got the guy who can finish it off. You know, I don't have every piece of information about this injury. I don't think they're going to. I think he might even have tried to play through it more if Jimmy Butler hadn't have gotten hurt. He was trying to limp his way through it. And if you look at the standings, what's basically happened is the Warriors have been trapped in the play-in. It's very unlikely they're going to be able to rise out of it. And there's so many tanking teams in the West that they're protected on the bottom end. So the only chance they have is doing anything this season anyway is getting Steph back. So I think, I hate to say it's a luxury because they're in 8th place, but they kind of have the luxury of allowing more time and not hurting them in the standings. Obviously, if he doesn't feel better in a couple of weeks, it's a different situation. But I honestly think that they're just looking at the standings and making a value judgment and holding him out now because it's not going to hurt him.
I agree with you because it's not going to hurt him but so much. And obviously, it's one of those situations where you want to preserve Curry for as much as you possibly can. That I will say, Wendy, you listen. If you're Joe Laker with the money that you spent over the years, you certainly want him there when it counts. You want to get a playoff series. You want to get some extra dough. You want to be relevant for a longer period of time. And this brother is absolutely box office. He's incredible for the brand, not just the Warriors, but overall the NBA. You know, watching the Lakers against the Warriors the other night, the minute you saw that Steph Curry wasn't going to be in the game, you're like, there was a deflation that kicked in because the babyface assassin was not going to be playing. And certainly you want to see him, but in the same breath, you want to give him as much rest as you possibly can while positioning yourself to at least be a participant in the play-in tournament if you can pull that off. That's what you're after right now. That's what they're aiming for, and I don't blame them one bit because you want to do everything you can to preserve him, to make sure he's on the court as healthy as he can possibly be, but most importantly, he's on the court. You want him on the court. You don't want him sitting out for the rest of the season and telling folks look forward to next year because you talk about a deflation that will automatically kick in the Bay Area. I mean, he is it. Without him, there really is no reason to pay attention to the Warriors whatsoever.
So the 2022-2023 season was the last time the Warriors were not in the play-in and made the playoffs, and they were the 6th seed then. Like, at some point, are we concerned with what's happening with the Warriors here, that they aren't a top 5 team in the West anymore, considering all the injuries and everything else?
Well,
Wendy or Stephen?
Because of the injuries, you're not. It's because of the injuries that you're not. If they were not hurt and they were looking like this, just a couple of games above 500, then you would be concerned. But injuries happen, and injuries are going to derail you. What's Milwaukee without Giannis? What would the Knicks be without Brunson? What would Minnesota be without Ant-Man, etc.? When you have injuries, I mean, injuries are a part of the game, and you don't expect your best players to be out and you still be the same. But if they were on the court healthy and you were losing games, that would be an entirely different matter altogether.
Wendy.
Steve Kerr said it best. He said they're a fading dynasty. That's an accurate assessment. It may have felt a little harsh, but it was true. And what you're hoping for is some last gasps of it. And if you're Golden State, you're hoping to get him healthy at the right moment. You're hoping to get Kristaps Porzingis and catch lightning in a bottle. That's just an honest way to look at it.
NBA,